For real, I have done more videos within a week rather than my whole career on YouTube. So, what's cooking, Valhalla? I'm skipping the intro, I'm really exhausted. Third video for a day, for me it's like a miracle, so let's get right into it. Alright, so Defender, as known as the tank, and probably might go on this game. Starting off with Sword of Valor. A chained attack with a total of 3 skills. First skill does damage, second skill does damage as well, and the third skill does a better amount of damage. No debuffs, no buffs on this chain, it's technically one burst skill that does damage. Moving on to Warrior's Battlecry, the defensive personal buff of Defender. Increases movement speed by 5%. This is actually really important because you haven't yet encountered something that increases movement speed. All damage taken reduction 3%, both for 90 seconds, a decent defensive buff. On top of that, you have a second skill on your chain that also increases your HP recovery, and something that will add a 3% for 90 seconds. I don't know what that might be. The only thing I know, guys, is that all those green icons imply that it's a defensive skill. That's it. Moving on to Taunting Charge. Rush to a close enemy and deliver a strike, increasing hate with a taunt. Many skills, you will encounter many skills on Defender that apply taunt. I don't yet know if that's valid on PvP, but it's valid for PvE for sure. Does a good amount of damage as well, and also slows your opponent by 40%. The cooldown, it's pretty insane, 8 seconds. Also the range, it's up to 13 meters. We have encountered so far Assassin with the same range on his initiation, or her, doesn't really matter. Moving on to the second skill on the chain, with 6 seconds cooldown, does a good amount of damage and also debuffs your opponent, reducing his attack speed with a 50% chance to reduce as well their dodge. Okay, a nice debuff. Moving on to the skill with no name. Does a good amount... Moving on to Slowing Shield. Strike the enemy with light from your shield with 100% chance of slowing the target. On top of that, you increase the hate, so again a taunt skill with a decent amount of damage and also slows your opponent. Has double the cooldown of Taunting Charge, but it doesn't really matter as you have so many slows on your kit so far before we even reach the blue skills, right? Moving on to Double Slash. Strike your enemy with 2 short swings, increasing hate with a taunt. Again, a third skill that applies taunts to your opponents, also an AoE. Does only damage, but also the skill has a decent range, 4.5 meters, max targets 2, a decent AoE. The second skill on the chain, strike your enemy with a swift downward swing of your shield, briefly getting ready to shield block an enemy attack. So, same skill, same AoE skill with 2 targets again, same range, does better damage overall and also applies the shield block for 3 seconds. What's the shield block? The shield block chance, let's move on to the next skill and you will understand. After a successful shield block, so when that perfect defense applies and someone hits you while you're on the defense stance, you have a chance of technically apply the shield block, and after a successful shield block, you can strike the enemy with your shield with 100% chance to stun him. Does a good amount of damage as well, has a very rewarding cooldown, and the trigger requirement before you actually learn shield block, we haven't yet talked about shield block, it's a passive, we're gonna explain it in a bit, but it's a passive. When you unlock the passive, the trigger requirement will increase to 15% rather than 3, okay? Moving on to Upward Strike. Strike the enemy with an upward swing of your shield with a chance of stunning the target. Good amount of damage and also 50% chance to stun your target. As you guys can see already, Defender has a lot of stuns, so it's a bulky class with the ability to always hunt your opponent and CC them down, right? Shielding Moment. I love the name of the skill, Shielding Moment. Raise your shield briefly getting ready to shield block an enemy attack, creating a shield. So, again, second skill that applies at the defense stance with the ability to shield block within the next 3 seconds. And on top of that, not only activates the defense stance, but also create a shield that is equal to 10% of your max HP. Nice. Bulwark. Actually, this name is better from the previous one. Summon shields to Summon shields to strike surrounding enemies. I was carried away by the animation, no joke. Summon shields to strike surrounding enemies and makes allies within range, including yourself, invisible. Perfecto. It has a 70 seconds cooldown though. The skill range is decent, 8 meters. Can be applied to 4 targets in total, as it comes to enemies, but as it comes to allies, as the description says, affects your closest allies. So what if we have like the whole guild inside a defender and the defender presses kill? The whole guild will be invisible for 2.5 seconds. I'm not yet sure if the description is correct, but if it does affect the entire guild, it's super huge, right? Insane skill. And we're not done yet, right? We have the gold skills to cover. Now, that's perfection, man. Strike your enemies with several chains to stun them and pull them toward you, increasing hate with a taunt. So, yeah, okay, pulls everyone, taunts everyone, 400% of attack. Actually, I'm surprised with the amount of damage defender also has on his kit. A lot of success with decent cooldowns, decent movement speed, a lot of defensive skills, right? Regeneration buffs, feels strong enough. The skill also stuns the opponents that you hooked for 1 second and also bounce them for 3 seconds on top of that. And also increases your melee damage taken reduction by 10%. So not only you're doing a lot of damage, you're seeing all your opponents, but on top of that you're also getting a nice buff boosting your melee damage reduction. Okay. And the last gold one summons a shield of retribution that instantly strikes your enemies with 100% chance of inflicting retribution on targets. Retribution is a debuff that reducing the attack of your enemies and all the PvP damage that they do by 10%. So a very nice AoE debuff, right? Actually, it's huge because you do also a lot of damage, like 440 for a tank feels a lot. However, I don't know how much attack you will technically build on a class like that. But anyway, having something like a defender on your roster feels so much needy. I don't feel like you need many of those, as maybe the buffs do not stack, but having a few that are actually geared might be a game changer. So let's check also the passives. 10% max HP, additional defense and something that we don't know what it is, 3% on top of your defense. Probably it's gonna be something defensive as well. There is the passive skill that you guys were wondering about. Here it is, trigger requirements 15% and all damage taken, absolute reduction by 50%. So that's what shield block does, right? After you take the damage will be reduced by half. Alright. And 15% chance actually doesn't feel bad at all. Master of Taunting increases hate and the chance of resisting debuffs. Something without a name, all melee damage taken by 5% for 8 seconds. We don't have an exact translation over here, but as I've said earlier, blue ones are sort of defensive ones. Enhanced Shield decreases your range damage taken, nice one. If your HP is not full, restores your HP over time. 2% of your max HP recovery over time every 5 seconds. Crazy. Alright, Impact Mitigation decreases damage taken from bosses and increases the chance of resisting shocks. Something that I have no idea what that might be. Anyway, it's one of the latest skills you will unlock, so probably it won't matter at the early state. A lot of defensives as the blue icon is being displayed there. Let's move on to the final gold passive, Resolute Mind. Decreases melee damage taken in proportion to current lost HP up to 30% of lost HP out of max HP. Right. And on top of that, you also get a 10% of total HP, maybe. And I don't even know what that might be as well. But the initial effect decreases melee damage taken in proportion to current lost HP. So, full anti-melee, right? Insane. So that was our tank. Right, I don't know how many of you are intrigued to play something like that. Personally, I feel like having something like that on your roster feels so much rewarding. With such satisfying mobility and so many CSS, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's funnier for someone especially that planning to play F2P, as DPS classes might be more enjoyable if you're a spender. I don't know, I'm just doing speculations here. And with that said, that goes for Defender, guys. Third video off. I'm going to die in my bed soon. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and sub. Until Wednesday, I'm hoping to complete all the classes available so far in the game. And until next time, see ya.